Now, gardens are fantastic places, but there is one problem with them, and that is called the winter. Because once the winter hits, either the snow comes down and covers everything, or the ice comes down and freezes the ground out, or the winds destroy any crops you've got in there. What you really need is some sort of mini little greenhouse to be able to plant things in. Now that's where this idea comes in, because from this pile of old rubbish that you've seen me bring in here, we're going to build a cold frame, and in that cold frame we're going to plant out our winter salad veg. It'll grow right through the winter. It'll grow slowly. I mean, it'll not be like a sunflower, but the greens will grow slowly, and right through the winter we can harvest them. The glass on the top will protect it from the wind and the rain, and the box itself, holding all the compost and the soil, will give it the perfect holding for the growing medium. Best of all, in the spring, you can just take it all apart. Use the soil in your pots. You don't need that cloche, that cold frame anymore, unless you're going to use it to bring on your seedlings. Now, if you haven't got a big greenhouse, a little thing like this can be invaluable. Now, it doesn't have to be a coffin like you've seen me bring in here. It could be a couple of drawers. It could be a metal drawer out of a filing cabinet, or a bit of an old bathtub, or just a polystyrene box. As long as you've got that much in old money of soil and compost in the bottom of it, and a bit of glass over the top, you've got yourself a mini greenhouse, and that'll bring on all your seedlings ready to plant out into your pots. Let's get started. That's the box in, that's the timber in. Now, where did I put the glass? Well, I'll pop that there out of the way, because knowing me, I'll just break it. Now this is the old box that I've picked up. You can see it's an old packing crate. I mean, quality wise, it's really, really thin. You look at the walls on here and they're wobbling like crazy. But you know, with a bit of wood wedged in there like that and a couple of screws, and I can use the lid of it to actually put down as a base. And with these old sheets of glass, well, I think we've got ourselves a project. There we go. So I've got to get right down here, but I just wanted to show you that the walls on this are very loose, but with a bit of old decking stuck in the middle and a couple of screws in, that'll hold it together. Not many people realise, but the saw has got a right angle at this end. So if you lay that on your piece of wood, square it off to where the mark is. Let me come in a bit closer here to show you. You see that? The little marks there. Go across. That is my cutting line. That should hold it together. I'll pop the screws in now. Now, don't do what I do and put screws in your mouth. It's a very very silly thing to do. Now there you go. I don't know if you can make that out, but that's the box in place. Looks a little bit skew-iff, but that's just the angle that it's at. And you can see all I've done is I've just joined together the two sides with a bit of wood in the middle. Now because the box is really firmer, I've cut a couple of extra bits of timber, and I'm just going to pop them along the side of the box. Now the reason I'm going to do that is because I was going to use sheets of ordinary glass on the top of here, and I still might, but if I can make this a little bit more solid, I could actually use a bit of old shower screen that I've got, and I'd rather use that because it's got a hinge on it and I can just lift it up. But let me get these screwed on, then I'll show you how it goes. So I'm just talking to my mate here. Come in. Come on in, let your lass see you so she knows you really are working. So he's in our house doing it professionally, and he's a qualified expert with wood.
Well,
Not to be mistaken for me, who has just learned which end of a hammer to hold, and I still don't realise you can't actually hammer screws in. No. So that's the difference. Professional, little old guy. Now, you can see here, I've got the box and I've come round the other side of it. And after I drop my camera on the floor, I'm just going to show you. This is the timber I've got, and I'm putting it in the back of the box. Now, there's no special skill required. What you can do is, you know roughly where the bit of wood's going in, so I can pop a screw part way in first. And then if I hold that on there like that, just level at this end, so I can move it up and down. I can level it at the other end as well, and then pop another screw in there. Then when I move it into place, it's like having a third arm, isn't it? Somebody's holding that end. There you go. Making it stronger all the time. That's what we're after. Strengthening it up. Now, whereas I was popping screws all over the place before, you could always use something like one of these. It's a very simple clamp. You pop it on where you want it, and you tighten it up by squeezing it a few times, and that holds it lovely. And I bought a few of them from Temu. So, yes please. That was Debbie just offering us a nice cup of tea, and that'll be champion. There we go. There you go, so you can see I've just screwed on these bits along there and the bits along the front, and it's just a bit of scrap bed I had and an old fence post, but really that's all that's needed. Well, the sun's shining, the wind's dropped, so I've popped out to have a look at finishing off the cold frame. Now, you might remember we've got it all built now, where we're talking about how do we put the glass on the top. Well, this is old glass that I got from a neighbour. I mean, yes, it looks more like wood because it's so hacky. But the idea with this is it can literally just sit on top of the box, and it'll be quite happy. A few sheets of that on the top would be absolutely perfect for keeping the heat in, keeping the moisture in. In the mornings, you just pull back about an inch or so, and then that'll allow any condensation to escape, and it keeps it nice and fresh and airy inside. Now, that is a very, very simple way of doing it. If you don't have glass, you might have a bit of that, like polycarbonate plastic I used on that pop-up greenhouse that we built. If not, you might want to go the whole hog. And this is the whole hog, according to Paul. And that is, I don't know if you can see it, it's a bit of a shower cabinet that somebody was getting rid of. I know, I'm a bit like old Steptoe. I cannot see anything go to waste. So I've had this tucked away for a while now, thinking I'll come up with something to use it for, and I think this might be it. Let me just try it for size. Well, you know what? You'd think that box was made for it. Admittedly, it does overlap about that much in each end, but that's not a problem, because this isn't a part of the garden that I'll kind of move around a lot in. It's a tiny little place where I'm storing stuff at the minute while the housework's being rebuilt, you know. I think that would do well. Now, it's got hinges on the back, so I could hinge it if I want, but you know, I'm not bothered about that. I can lift it off, I'm able-bodied, I can shift it. In the mornings, remember what I said, all you need to do is just slide it back a little bit to let some air circulate inside it. So that's the box. Now, I had a friend of mine say to me, are you going to line the inside of it with plastic and kind of waterproof it? That the answer is no, I'm not. The reason is because the box itself is just so thin. It really is a disposable packing crate. Now, if this was heavy going stuff like, you know, thick kind of timbers or made from pallets or something, then I might. But as it is at the minute, I'm only expecting to get 6 to 8 months out of this, and then it'll be either compost or it'll be on the fire. Now, when I say on the fire, what I mean is I'll cut it up and I'll put it in my chimney, I'll burn it away, and then the wood ash that comes out the bottom goes in the compost heap. So I try to waste nothing at all. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pop off and I'm going to get a couple of bags of compost. Now, I've got some old soil. You can imagine this takes up an awful lot. Yes, I heard you. Somebody shouted out in the background, yes, but you could make a haugus bund and you could put bits of tree in the bottom. I could, but I haven't got any. I've got a big space. So I thought what I'll put in the bottom is some of the old soil off like so the potatoes and things and the old plant pots I've got lying around. We'll chuck all that in the bottom. I'll put some fresh compost on the top, and I might put a little bit of griddled compost right on the top for the seeds to go in. Well, I'm back. I've been off to the garden centre to get a bit more compost because I didn't quite have enough of my own. Now, the sun's gone down. It's getting a bit chilly, so I've popped on a jumper because I might be out here for a little while. Now, if you remember what we were saying, we need to fill this, but all we're going to be growing in there is some salad crops and maybe a few bits of overwintered stuff. So you don't need to fill it chock-a-block with brand new compost. The bottom end of it, bottom 3/4 of it, could just be your old soil from your tomato pots or any old plant pots or tatey beds or whatever. Put that in the bottom. Now, I know what you're thinking, there might be some weed seeds in if you've had other stuff grown in it. Well, there might be, but what we'll do is we'll put a little bit of cardboard over the top of it and we'll wet that. Then we'll put the compost on top of that. Now, what that effectively does is it creates a bit of a weed barrier for any of the lightweight annuals. Now, if you've got thistles and dock and all sorts of stuff, a bit of cardboard will not stop that. But anything big that comes through, you can spot it quickly and just pull it out. So what I've got here is, you know, we're growing tomatoes in old beer barrels. Do you remember the plastic beer barrels that were converted into big pots? Well, this is it. The tomatoes are nearly finished now. I've pulled a few of these through, and all I'll do is really just pop them in. So all I'm doing is I'm just tipping them in as they are, and if I see any weeds or plant labels or anything like that, I can pull that out. A bit of tomato in there still. So these bits that I pull out, they can just go back into the bin or into the compost or into the liquid compost, whatever works out best. Now, I'll show you this in a minute as I'm getting it all put together, but we'll pop a few more in here. And you can see these are hollow in the bottom, straight through. So I used the liner that was in the beer barrel effectively as a drain plug in the bottom. Works really well. And a bit off an old something or other, I've no idea. We'll chuck that in as well. So that's doing quite well in there. Now that is very, very dry, extremely dry, which is why you need to give it a really good drink as well. But before I get that, I'm going to put some of my own compost on now. This is the stuff I make. Remember, I've showed you how to make it. You don't worry about it, you're not too precious. You just get it made very quickly. And it works well, and if you get a few, well, you may get a few weeds in it. It's not a big deal. Just, oh, tatey grow to that one. So we'll just throw a few of these buckets in, then I'll be back with you. Now, as my compost here is actually a lot finer than the stuff I've bought, I'm going to put the bought stuff on next. And I'm saving a couple of buckets full of mine to sprinkle over the top as a fine tilth to put the seeds in. Now, over the last few years, I must have tried every compost you can buy. I mean, some of it is okay, and some of it is absolutely rubbish. Now, the stuff that I've finally settled on is stuff that's made in the south of the country. It's called Rocket Grow Natural Peat and natural peat free, and it has a nice smell about it. Now, I can tell you, if you leave this in the back of your car with the sun shining on it for 2 days, your car develops an entirely new aroma that you've never smelt before, unless you've smelt the old gut barrels in a fishing port somewhere. It stinks, but when it goes out in the garden, the smell disappears. So this is it, and as you can see, I mean, it's nice stuff. Look, can you make that out? It's really nice stuff. It's far better than that B&Q rubbish. Of course, other rubbishes are available. So, on top of the weedy stuff, and on top of my old rough compost, bit of cardboard. Now I'm just filling the gaps in, and remember, I'm only using it as a weed barrier. So it doesn't have to be perfect at all. But I will get the hose pipe and soak it down. Now, I imagine, if I can get this monster through, I imagine there might be a few of you that just don't like the idea of using cardboard while you're planting. Well, I can tell you that cardboard, in its essence, is basically just wood pulp, squeezed thin, corrugated, and stuck together with cellulose from tree sap. Now, it's pretty natural. There might be other things on. There's ink gets printed onto it. A lot of the times that's now a vegetable-based ink because it's really cheap to produce. And there's bits of plastic tape which you can either pull off before you use it, or you can be lazy like me and just leave it on. And then when you come to shift that soil later and the cardboard's all rotted, you've just got those little bits of plastic to pick out. You're not fighting with a half a ton of cardboard to pull it all off. Sometimes they have metal staples in, but I try to avoid boxes that's been stapled together because they're a nightmare to get rid of. And no matter what you do, you always end up putting your knee on one of them when you're working. Now I'm going to give this a good soaking because I want to wet it in order to help it start to break down. Now it'll still stop the light travelling through the soil, and as I mentioned, it will stop the late annual weeds growing. It won't stop the big boys. So we'll give this a good drink and we'll pop the rest of the compost in. Now don't forget, you know, this isn't a permanent bed that we're building here. It's a temporary bed. It's a cold frame to bring on seeds or seedlings or to plant up some winter crop. That should do for now. So we'll pop a couple of these in. Boy, that looks nice. Very nice. You could always have that in a sandwich. And all I'm doing now is leveling it off a little bit. I'm just gonna do a bit of studio ingenuity here and move you over there. If you get seasick, just close your eyes now and I'll tell you when to reopen them. You can reopen them. So you can see all I've done here is I've just spread it all out. Now you'll not see me face because I'm not crawling on the floor to get in the frame. So I've just literally put it in. Now I could plant directly in here. I've got about 2 or 3 inches of soil, or compost, that I could plant into there, but I'm actually going to put another couple of inches of fine compost on the top of that to plant into. Now that will only give me about that much space. Hang on, I can't not look at you. That will only give me about that much space. But remember, all the stuff that I've put in there will settle, and that'll give us a bit more space. Plus the stuff I'm growing in there, it's only grow this big before I start harvesting it. I mean, you know, radishes aren't that big, are they? So we'll get the rest of the compost on there, then I'll come back to you. There you go. That's a bit better than lying on the floor, isn't it? there we are. I think that's safe to say that's where we're up to now. So this is really ready to plant out. Now, there's an awful lot of things you can plant out. Hang on, I'm ignoring you. Wait, I talk to you proper. There's an awful lot of things you can plant out now. And I know the naysayers will say it's too late, they won't grow properly. But they will grow. They may not grow into giants, but they'll grow into edible crops for your winter. That's what this is all about, remember? It's just about getting some greens, some salad veg and a few roots ready for you in the winter when you want fresh, wholesome, tasty grub. Now the next video, we'll plant up some of those seeds, we'll have a chat about it. But for now, that's it, ready to rumble. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.